A few weeks following that incident in the room, I was walking towards the restroom late at night when the sound of voices downstairs caught my attention. Moving silently into the shadows, I crept up to the edge of the staircase. "The girl is turning into a bigger problem with each passing day," Richard was arguing. "She is completely ruining the peace of our home. Have you thought about finding another place for her to live?" My heart skipped a beat. Another place? Were they talking about adoption? "I suppose that is a possibility," my mother replied, and it sickened me to hear how calmly she was considering it. She is still young enough for it. "It would definitely make things easier for everyone. It's the best option," Janet chimed in. "Madison has been terrified of her since that confrontation, and to be perfectly honest, she simply does not belong in this household anymore." I sprinted back to my bedroom, burying my face deep into my pillow. I tried to convince myself that they didn't actually mean it. My own mother would never abandon me, she just couldn't. Eventually, I pushed the entire conversation to the back of my mind, telling myself it was nothing more than empty talk. 2 months later, my 13th birthday arrived. Having not celebrated a single birthday since my father passed away, I wasn't anticipating anything special. However, to my absolute amazement, Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia arrived at our front door. "Happy birthday, Helen," Uncle Robert exclaimed, pulling me into a warm embrace. His expression darkened when Richard walked right past us, completely ignoring our presence. My mother had put together a rushed, careless dinner, likely feeling uncomfortable that my late father's brother might judge her actions. The atmosphere around the dining table was incredibly tense, so thick you could almost cut through it. Suddenly, my mother cleared her throat. "Actually, Robert, Patricia, I am glad you both are here. There is an important matter we need to talk about," she said. The tone of her voice made my stomach instantly knot up. "Helen is miserable living here," my mother stated, completely avoiding eye contact with me. "And quite frankly, none of us are happy either. She just doesn't fit into our new family structure. Therefore, I have made up my mind to place her for adoption." Those words struck me like a physical punch. The conversation I had eavesdropped on weeks ago wasn't just empty talk after all. "I figured since you and Patricia have never been able to have children of your own," my mother went on, her tone as casual as if she were commenting on the daily weather, "you might be interested in taking her in. If you aren't, I will begin searching for other prospective families." The entire room began to spin, and I found it hard to breathe. On my very birthday, she was discarding me like unwanted trash. Suddenly, Uncle Robert's chair pushed back with such force that it crashed onto the floor. "We will take her," he roared, his face turning bright red with pure rage. "And as for you, Sarah, you are the most disgusting excuse for a mother I have ever encountered in my life. How dare you do this?" Richard attempted to stand up, but a single, fierce glare from Uncle Robert forced him right back into his seat. "Patricia," Uncle Robert instructed, his tone softening instantly as he turned to his wife, "go help Helen pack up her belongings. We are leaving this place immediately." Aunt Patricia wrapped a comforting arm around my trembling shoulders and guided me up the stairs. We packed up everything in a hurry, stuffing my clothes and my few remaining personal items into bags. Tears were streaming down my face so heavily that I could barely see straight. "Everything is going to be perfectly fine, sweetheart," Aunt Patricia kept whispering gently. "We have you now. You're safe." I walked out of that house without granting my mother a single parting glance. She didn't make any attempt to stop us, nor did she bother to say goodbye. The very last thing I heard as Uncle Robert shut the car door was Madison asking aloud if she could move into my newly vacated bedroom. The adjustment period wasn't seamless at first. I would frequently wake up in my new bedroom at Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia's house, feeling momentarily disoriented about where I was. But then the comforting aroma of Aunt Patricia's fresh coffee and sizzling bacon would drift up from the kitchen, reminding me that I was finally home, my true home. The legal adoption process was completed rapidly. My birth mother signed away her parental rights without a single second thought. While that realization deeply wounded me back then, it eventually came to feel like the greatest blessing. Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia officially became my mother and father on paper, formalizing a bond that was already deeply rooted in my heart. "Helen," Uncle Robert mentioned one morning during breakfast, "we have enrolled you in Riverside Prep. It is a much better institution than your previous school, and we genuinely believe you will thrive there." And I truly did love it there. Stripped of the constant anxiety and stress of my old household, my academic performance began to soar. My teachers quickly took notice of my progress, and so did my new parents. They made it a point to attend every single event, every school production, every academic ceremony, and every single parent-teacher meeting. When I decided to join the debate team, they sat through every grueling competition, beaming with absolute pride even on the days I didn't win. They constantly pushed me to explore new horizons, funding piano lessons, enrolling me in summer science camps, and supporting my time volunteering at the local animal shelter. They backed every single endeavor, providing not just financial support, but genuine enthusiasm and active participation. Slowly but surely, the deep ache of my birth mother's abandonment began to fade, replaced entirely by the secure certainty of being genuinely cherished. I stopped dwelling on her entirely, and I stopped wondering if I ever crossed her mind. My new life was simply too rewarding and full of joy to leave any room for those past wounds. When my high school graduation arrived, I easily had the loudest, most enthusiastic support section in the entire auditorium. It wasn't just Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia standing there. Their entire extended family had shown up, having fully embraced me as one of their own from day one. "We have a surprise to share with you," Aunt Patricia revealed during my celebratory graduation dinner. "We have been steadily building a college fund for you from the very moment you came to live under our roof." They had managed to save up an amount substantial enough to allow me to attend any university of my choosing. I ultimately selected a reputable state university's business school, choosing to major in investment management. My college years were an absolute dream. I dedicated myself entirely to my course load, fully resolved to make my parents proud. During my junior year, while holding an internship at Goldman Sachs, Aunt Patricia mentioned in a casual conversation that she had crossed paths with my birth mother at a local grocery store. "She has a son now," Aunt Patricia shared gently, keeping a close eye on my facial expression. "They are still residing in your late father's old house along with Richard's family." I merely nodded in response, surprised to find that I felt absolutely nothing other than a faint sense of mild curiosity. That past life felt like a vague, distant dream that belonged to a completely different person. Following graduation, I secured a position at Morgan Stanley. My starting income was so high it made my jaw drop. It was far more money than I had ever dreamed of earning straight out of university. The exact day I received my very first paycheck, I headed straight to a local jewelry boutique. Uncle Robert had been sporting the exact same battered, worn-out wristwatch for countless years. And Aunt Patricia had been admiring a specific necklace in a neighborhood shop window for the longest time. When I presented them with the gifts, Aunt Patricia burst into tears of joy, and Uncle Robert's hands trembled visibly as he fastened the new watch onto his wrist. "You really shouldn't be wasting your hard-earned money on us like this," he tried to object weakly. "Who else in the world would I rather spend it on?" I countered, wrapping them both in a tight hug. "You are my parents. You are the exact reason I am standing here today." The next 6 years passed by in a blur of productivity. I steadily climbed the corporate ranks at Morgan Stanley, securing consecutive promotions until I was successfully leading my very own department. Every milestone attained felt incredibly rewarding because I was able to share the joy with Mom and Dad, which is what I now called Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia, without a single shred of hesitation. Purchasing my property came first, a stunning 2-bedroom condominium located in a beautiful sector of the city. Mom eagerly assisted me with the interior design, and Dad insisted on meticulously reviewing every line of the legal paperwork before I officially signed the mortgage agreement. Then Michael entered my life. After a wonderful year of dating, he caught me completely off guard by proposing during a weekend getaway at the coast. I eagerly accepted before he could even finish uttering the question. Mom wept tears of happiness when we shared the news, and Dad pulled Michael into a massive, welcoming embrace. "Welcome to our family, son," Dad expressed, his voice thick with genuine emotion. We immediately threw ourselves into the process of wedding planning. Mom and I spent our weekends evaluating catering menus and sample cakes, while Dad and Michael bonded over managing budget spreadsheets and coordinating vendor contracts. And then out of nowhere, a message popped up on my Facebook inbox. "Helen, sweetheart, I recently caught wind of your upcoming wedding. I am fully aware that a significant amount of time has passed, but I am still your biological mother. I have changed a great deal, and I want nothing more than to fix things between us. Please allow me to be a part of your milestone day. I miss you terribly." My hands shook noticeably as I read through the text. I immediately dialed Mom's number to tell her. "I actually saw Sarah just yesterday," Mom revealed softly over the phone once I informed her about the sudden message. "We ran into each other at the supermarket. She didn't ask a single question about your well-being, not one. However, the moment I happened to mention how incredibly successful you've become and that you were preparing to get married, well, her eyes lit up in a very unsettling way. Mom paused for a brief moment before choosing to continue. There is more to it, Helen. That niece of her husband's, Madison, ended up getting pregnant, married a total deadbeat, and has since moved right back into that house alongside her husband. The entire household is in a state of constant warfare and financial strain.